Welcome back to the first Takedown podcast. I'm Alex alongside Hunter. Hunter, looking good today. I like that hat you got on.
Yeah, it's
How you doing?
tis the season, right? Not a lot of
Yeah,
coaching changes this year. Huge one today. Kevin Ward leaves Army. Had to support. Got a
yeah,
couple guys up there at Army that I support. If they want to hire a new head coach, who knows? Maybe I'll throw my hat in the ring. You never know.
yeah.
Never know.
Well,
I'll
yeah,
support
yeah.
them.
For our Spotify listeners, Hunter's wearing an Army wrestling
No, you
hat,
can you
and
can. There's video on Spotify now. You
yeah,
can.
yeah,
I
right.
mean,
Just
yeah,
click.
there's video on Spotify. Spotify, So I was telling somebody this recently, and not. I mean, this is your weekly non-wrestling talk. I think last time we got into a little golf, and we could get into some golf too. A little
Yeah,
PGA Championship this weekend, Scotty Scheffler. But years ago, when Apple Music came out, I was like, oh, I'm switching. I'm just gonna switch. It was right when it came out. I was like, I'm waiting. I always just thought, Apple does apps better than most people. So they do most things better than most people. So I switched, and that was the one switch that I've probably regretted from switching everything over. And Spotify is, I mean, it's a really, really good product. So I'm, a little bummed, but at this point, I'm not, I mean, I won't move back now.
So you're still on Apple Music.
I am. I mean, I'm
So
locked in. I can't. I mean, I've got too many playlists, too much.
yeah,
I can't switch again. I can't switch back at this point. So, but yeah, I mean, Spotify does a good job. I'm glad we're on Spotify, on YouTube. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Instagram, First Takedown 3. We'll do the plugs first. Instead of doing them
yeah.
last, we'll do the
I
plugs
like it.
first. Do the plugs first.
Well, yeah, I like that, and I'll say shout out to Andy for paying for the family plan Spotify. I think I've been on it for who knows how long. It's
That's how you
great.
do it.
It's
Yeah,
great. It's
that's
great.
I'm paying on my own, and it's just draining me. I mean, it's just draining my bank account every month. Paying for my own Apple Music.
We need to get a
Man,
sponsor. Rocket
yeah,
Money. Find out
guys,
the
just pay.
memberships.
Just all we ask for is just pay, so we don't have to pay to make this podcast.
Yeah, we're losing money here, guys.
That's all we ask. That's all we
Well,
ask.
the big move that we're talking about today, your
Yeah,
hat, Kevin Ward leaves Army Wrestling. Been there for how many years?
dude, he's been there a while.
Yeah,
I don't know exactly how long he's been there. Oklahoma State alum. I think he was actually from. I think he went to Baylor, or he went to. I think he's from the Chattanooga area, if I'm not mistaken.
really. I
Or
think
he
you
went to
might.
school there. Maybe I'm wrong. I need my tech guy to look that up.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was there for a while. Um, we were talking on our group chat yesterday or a couple days ago about him moving to Oklahoma State. Like, was that a lateral move, a step down? And we're all kind of like, well, I mean, theoretically, I guess it's a step down. You're going from being a head coach to an assistant coach. But I mean, in this landscape, with all the money that's being tossed around and how much Paycom's backing Oklahoma State and the money that they probably have just from a salary standpoint, it's probably a step up for him. I don't imagine he'd be taking that job if he wasn't getting some sort of pay increase. So now their staff's going to look like David Taylor. I would imagine that Kevin Ward is second or third in command, if they even have that. I doubt they even have a structure like that. But just from a pay standpoint, I'm wondering. I would think that obviously David's taking care of his brother-in-law, Jimmy Kennedy, really well. So I would think those guys are kind of the 2-3 there. And I think Kevin Ward's going to bring a lot of he's been a head coach. He knows a lot of the administrative side of things. He's done a really good job recruiting. This recruiting class that they brought in 2026 that Army's brought in is really, really good. I think they have like 6, 7 top 100 guys in the class, which is really, really impressive. Jojo Urachuk, one of the kids
Yeah.
going there, super tough kid out of Chattanooga. So he's top 20 on the big board. So super tough kid going there out of Minion Training Centers. I mean, it's still exciting times at Army. They've got a good solid team, and they're bringing in a great recruiting class. I don't know who they'll end up hiring. Scott Green is kind of their, I guess, eldest assistant. He could be. I just don't know. I have no idea. There really hasn't been many, coaching changes like where this is the only one to speculate. And it's at a weird time of the year where it's like a May coaching change. Normally they're right at the end of the year. So I'll be curious to see who they hire.
Yeah. I think that was pretty cool hire, and I looked it up. Sada Daisy, which is in Chattanooga, that's where he went. So it was a Chattanooga boy for sure.
Baylor, I think I was thinking Jordan Lean then. I think Jordan Lean went to Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jordan Lean went to Baylor. Kevin Ward. Okay, Sadi Daisy. That makes sense. That makes I lived there for a few years, so I have some of the schools, but it goes pretty quickly when you get out of recruiting.
Yeah, I bet. But then they're stacking up these coaches that all could be head coaches. I mean, obviously, like we're head coaches, and so I don't know. I wonder if we're going to see some more of that. The other big news, at least for Oklahoma State, and not that this isn't an Oklahoma State wrestling podcast. It's just we seem to talk about them a lot because they're the ones that have been making some big moves, and so picked up the Rainey brothers from Kentucky. It was like they were like 6 and 7, I think.
Yeah,
and just studs. I've seen them wrestle live and wrestle at a tournament here in Tennessee, and they just are a little bit untouchable.
They're a handful.
It's pretty crazy, and doing really well on the Greco level too. I don't remember if it's Jordan or Jaden, which one, but thought that they might go to Illinois and maybe. But then they both commit to Oklahoma State, so that's another big pickup this past week for them.
Yeah, I mean, we took 1 week off because we either do it, once a week, we do the show once a week, or we do it every 2 weeks. And I guess you don't realize the amount of news that you get in just a short 2 week span. Also with the tournament in there as well, which we'll get to. We haven't even scratched the surface on that. But yeah, I mean, Oklahoma State being in the news for all the right reasons right now, dominating the headlines, taking 2 guys that I think Iowa really thought they had, and just not only not letting them go to Iowa, but picking them up on their side as well. So it's already like the Penn State question with Oklahoma State. How are all these guys going to fit into the lineup?
Mm-hmm.
In Penn State, they somewhat figured out, but really it's just they get in there and whoever the better guy is, and he's the one that goes. You don't really see a bunch of guys leave. And so you've already seen that, like Braden Thompson hopped in the portal and then ended up staying. You haven't really seen a lot of guys leave yet. You've seen a bunch of guys come in to Oklahoma State. So we'll see if David and crew can kind of rally the troops when maybe a guy is feeling a little down on himself or feeling like he may not be the starter. But it really just is going to be interesting, I would say, the first year, this year, on what their lineup's going to look like. It's going to look a little maybe funky, maybe not what we expect. But, I mean, I think fans are really excited about the opportunity of maybe like a 2027 or 2028 Oklahoma State team battling against Penn State.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we've been talking about some good headlines and some exciting wrestling, but obviously the big impact, this past couple of weeks was the Kyle Snyder story. And I mean, just to kind of hit on that for a second, I mean, the guy who the last guy, especially at the Olympic level in USA Wrestling, who you think would be going through that kind of situation, it was shocking. I think you sent that first text over, and I was like, "This does not seem real." It's TMZ. I was like, "What is going on?"
Yeah, I saw the headline. I think I sent that in, and then I saw the TMZ video, and I sent that in as well. And I mean, yeah, terrible situation. The last guy you would have thought that would have been in that situation, and really a wrestling headline that we hate having just because we hate bringing negativity to the sport. But what scandal have we had in the last however long with a lot of these top level guys, super high level guys? It just doesn't really happen, and it shows you kind of the character of a lot of the guys in the sport. But man, I was floored by this one. I didn't even really know what to think. I was just almost felt just bad for all parties involved. But, yeah, we'll see what happens, man. I mean, I think everybody's kind of wondering if he's going to wrestle this year or not. And I think he's probably got some other things he needs to worry about right now. And just making sure that his house is in order before getting into all that. And I think you've seen that in some other sports. Some guys have some issues personally. like MMA, I think is a very similar sport to wrestling in the sense of just what you go through from a day-to-day basis and what your body and mind goes through and maybe some of the challenges that come with that. I think, that can be a thing. And maybe some guys got to step away from a little bit and make sure they're getting everything in order. You have so many distractions that come up, and I'm not saying that's what this is, but it just is a terrible situation for him and his family. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why I saw something maybe like if he could lower his sentence, could maybe try to wrestle in Final X. But from my personal opinion, I'm like, hey, this ain't the year. Let's figure it out at home, figure out yourself, figure out your family. Then we can see what happens next after that to trying to get back to this.
Yeah, and it comes into question. I think right away you see the impact, like Justin Rademacher and Hayden Zilmer. Hayden Zilmer cut down to 97 kilos. Justin Rademacher wasn't entered into the tournament and then just decided to enter in the tournament. And so I think you kind of saw right away like some of the impact that had just from the uncertainty. And so that's an interesting situation to monitor what's going to happen with 97 kilos. But, it's not the end of the world for Team USA. I think we're really strong at 97 kilos. Honestly, if you had to tell me right now who would our rep in 2028 be for the Olympics, I probably wouldn't put Kyle Snyder as the front runner at the moment. Not because of this. This has nothing to do with this situation at all. It's just purely wrestling. I would say that I think probably we see Aaron Brooks move up at some point, all the way from 86 up to 97. He is massive. And so I think we could see that change eventually. I think he's dealing with some stuff too. I don't know if it's personal or health or what it is, but we're not going to see him this year. He's not in Final X, and then I highly doubt we see Snyder. But it does give some good opportunities. Some other guys, Hayden Zilmer, kind of waiting in the wings to see if he's going to be the rep.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, speaking of the people, hopping weights and stuff. This past weekend, we had the Senior World Team Trials Challenge. So if somebody is newer to wrestling, which I don't know if this is a podcast for you, but hey, come in and join. We'll try to make it more educational maybe. But this winner of the World Team Trials wrestles either the winner of the U.S. Open that happened a few weeks back, or if they were right in the world team spot the year before. Will you explain that criteria of how that happens?
Yeah, so anybody that won the World Team Trials this weekend will be wrestling a guy that won the U.S. Open, or not wrestling anyone at all, because the winner of the U.S. Open would wrestle the guy that sat out. So that nobody that won this weekend will be wrestling a guy that sat out necessarily, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, we'll just to clear the air on this one, we'll get to it. But Hayden Zilmer could or could not have a match. I don't, or matches. I don't think at the moment that they would, that they would change that up and bring anybody else in. JILO is the one that he wrestled in the finals. I think Zilmer would just be given the spot at 97 kilos if Snyder didn't show up. So we'll just get that one out of the way. But and then also 57 kilos and 61 kilos. Finals are already set for Final X, and we'll touch on that too. But I mean, again, it's been like this with these first couple of weights, but we started off with the weight that I think was the most volatile in 65 kilos. I think if they wrestled that weight this weekend or next weekend, it'd go a whole different way.
Totally different.
Even if it was seated the same, I think it would go a whole different way. So, really interesting first round match. Marcus Blaze, Carter Young. Carter Young gets up 4-0. Marcus Blaze storms back and then drops his next match to Jesse Mendez in a pretty close match. Real Woods beats Aiden Valencia in a match that was just like all Aiden Valencia, and then right at the very end, like Aiden Valencia like fell down and Real Woods like fell on top of him. It was wild. It was wild. Yeah, I couldn't explain it when I was watching what was happening. And then Bo Bassett ends up beating Bo Bartlett in a match where Bo Bartlett didn't know the score for 5.5 minutes. And then Brock Hardy takes out Seth Gross in an absolutely wild match, back and forth, crazy exchanges. So this one lived up. After those quarters, I was like, this weight is bananas. It's lived up to the hype of just being completely volatile.
Yeah, we talked about this weight, like not knowing what was going to happen here and seeing if some of these young guys could come in. And like Real Woods wouldn't have been my pick for winning this weight class, and he showed up and scored when he needed to, and then beats Jesse Mendez, and then beats Brock Hardy. But Brock Hardy had a great tournament too. Like he was coming back in all of his matches, like giving up some points, and then these guys are just you can see like it's such a close margin for these guys like Real Woods that met where he just like dropped down on a leg and looked like he fell but scored
Yeah,
it.
I mean, if Aiden Valencia keeps wrestling for like 5 seconds, Real Woods, we're not even talking about him anymore. And so it's just crazy, like you said, how close these guys are. And I think the most fun thing to watch about this weight is how different these guys are stylistically. They all bring a different set of tools. And so it was really fun to watch that. Obviously, one of the major stories coming out of this bracket was on the backside where Marcus Blaze beats Bo Bassett, two high schoolers wrestling on the backside of the World Team Trials. And really one exchange, it was a 4-pointer where Marcus Blaze had hit a little go behind, gets rear standing, and just kind of does a little lazy back arch, puts him to his back. And that was pretty much the end of the match. It was a 5-1 match. So, that shakes up things a little bit as far as, what the high school rankings look like at the end of the year. But not a whole lot on the line between those guys, but we could definitely see them wrestle down the line. Bo Bassett didn't look huge this weekend. I think he probably ends up as a 49-pounder, but if he ends up at 41, and we could see those guys battling it out in college. So yeah, it's gonna be quite. Those guys are gonna be kind of log jammed, all of them. We talk about how good this 25 and 26 class are, but so many of them are right in the same weight.
Yeah, pretty similar there. Real Woods able to put a tournament together and win this one at 65, and now he's going to be wrestling Joey McKenna, two Stanford boys, right?
Yeah.
Former Stanford wrestling each other.
Yeah, and it could have been a third if Aiden Valencia, another Stanford guy, if he just leaves him off his legs. But yeah, I didn't think about that. Two Stanford transfers.
Yeah.
Two Stanford transfers. Started at Stanford. One ends up at Ohio State. The other ends up at Iowa. Both national finalists, never champs. So yeah, pretty some similarities between the two guys that'll be wrestling at Final X. And now they're at a whole different program that has nothing to do with the colleges they went to. Or
Yeah.
it's like wow, both of these guys have some similar. I didn't even think about that until we bring it up. So, yeah, some similarities with Real Woods and Joey McKenna. That'll be interesting. I don't know if you want to just do it weight by weight and then get into Final X. We can wait if you want on just giving predictions, but that match will be interesting between those two. If we get the Real Woods we saw this weekend, like I kind of feel like he's gonna win.
Yeah. That one is harder as I was looking through them. Let's just start now. As we're going through these, we can go predict, and then we'll go back on the ones that we didn't talk about because those ones are exciting too. So yeah, the Joey McKenna versus Real Woods at Final X in June. I don't like they do best of 3 for that spot, and so this one could go 3 matches. I don't know.
Think so too.
I think it'll be pretty close. I want to say Joey McKenna, but I don't know. It's just going to be if Real Woods shows up, and I think Joey might have a little bit more gas tank in him right now, but I don't know.
I think
that
so
one's
too.
hard to predict.
And I think he's got the experience on the side too. He definitely the freestyle, accolades he's got on his side. I think it just kind of depends on, like you said, I really think it depends on which Real shows up, not necessarily which Joey McKenna shows up. So I think we know what we're going to get out of McKenna. He's pretty consistent. I guess he isn't always consistent because we get the guy that we get at the U.S. Open, and then we get a different guy at Pan Am's a little bit, it looked like. So not saying that he's always consistent. I just feel like he has a little bit more consistent freestyle results than maybe a Real Woods does. So I think Woods in 3, honestly. I really do. I could see McKenna coming out and maybe getting the first one on like a close match, and then Real like just maybe trying to hulk up a little bit and just saying no more game plan, we're going after it. But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting. That one's probably the one I don't know the most about.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take the opposite then. I'm going to do Joey in 3. Joey, why not? Switch it up. Another fun weight that was a little bit surprising, and some crazy matches too, going into 70 kilos. In the first round, we had Brayton Lee, Caleb Henson. Henson able to win that one on criteria, and then Antrell Taylor wrestling Jackson Arrington. Quick tech fall there, but the quarters, man, had some really good matches here at 72, and I'll let you go from those.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Henson takes out James Green, and it looked like Green just kind of ran out of gas. He was controlling the match the whole time. So that was kind of a weird finish to that one. And then Andonian beats Will Lewan to set up a Henson Andonian match that was, you kind of had to expect would be really close. Those guys just wrestle all the time. And Andonian pulls that one out. And then, Ridge Lovett just dominates Ian Parker. And PJ Duke, we talked about it. We knew he was going to have to go through a pretty tough gauntlet of NCAA All-Americans and champions, and kind of beats Antrell Taylor in a match that was back and forth. Antrell got to some really good positions where I thought he was going to end up, pulling out some of those positions, but PJ Duke wrestles in some upper body exchanges that he looks like he has so much just wherewithal for where his hips are and savviness up in those upper body exchanges. And I noticed it even more in his match with Andonian in the finals, because Andonian's tricky up there and he'll start, kind of putting you in some bad positions, throwing caution to win. And PJ Duke just did a good job of staying out of a lot of that stuff. And then again, had a really close match with Ridge in the semis. So he really ran the gauntlet. He had all the tests, and I'll be curious to see what happens with him and Yanni at 70 kilos.
Yeah, because I mean, PJ Duke looked big. He looked like he was in the weight class, and I'll tell our viewers this now, but the clip that I posted on Saturday morning of you talking about PJ Duke in the weight class, I might have trimmed the end of it where you said, but I think James Green still takes the weight class.
I appreciate that. Yeah, James didn't make it there, so yeah,
didn't quite make it past his first match, but hey, that's okay.
Yeah.
But PJ Duke, I mean, he looked so comfortable upper body, and I watched PJ Duke wrestle that much, honestly, but I watched like all of his matches this past weekend, and against a guy like Andonian, like, I mean, he was being safe, especially when it got to the end there, but he didn't look like, shoot, I got to get out of here. He was okay to hang up out top, especially with Ridge Lovett too, because Ridge is pretty savvy as well, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for sure.
I really want to see him wrestle Austin Gomez. Austin Gomez looked so good in that card that they did where Andonian wrestled Gomez, and Gomez dominated Andonian. And Gomez looks like a 70 kilo guy, like a legit threat at 70 kilos. So I want to see that match. But this is my first. So I came into the weekend thinking, I do think PJ Duke can get it done. But he looked kind of like, this is just what can happen when you do like transitive property wrestling and stuff like that. But it does make you think. I watched PJ Duke wrestle Melvin Miller, who is a sophomore in high school, in the junior finals at the Open. And Melvin Miller was all over him. I mean, PJ Duke won, but Melvin Miller was just on him. And I'm like, man, this guy, I mean, I love PJ Duke. He's good. He can't beat all these top level 70 kilo guys. And then he goes out and does it. And then I almost do like a reverse on my thought process. I go, Melvin Miller's just really, really high level. Okay. He's also really, really, really good. And I already knew that, but like that kind of even established it for me even more of kind of the level that I think of now of Melvin Miller. So yeah, man, it was a interesting weekend at 70 kilos. All those guys are kind of close. I think if they wrestled it again, I do think Duke would win, but like that match he had with Lovett, man, he could have lost that match. That could have been a takedown at the very end. I'd like to see like PJ Duke, Caleb Henson. I think that would be, they both hand fight really hard, get in the trenches. That'd be a low scoring match, you got to think. So matches like that, I'd like to see from PJ.
Is Gomez at 70 wrestling for Mexico still right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he is. So I mean, he'll be at the Worlds. And so, PJ may have a shot to wrestle him, or he's got to beat Yanni 2 out of 3. And I said that I don't think PJ gets past James Green. I also don't think he gets past Yanni 2 out of 3. I think Yanni wins, 2 New York legends, and I think PJ's time is obviously coming. I don't think it's right now. He could absolutely prove me wrong, but we'll see what happens in a few weeks.
Yeah, that's going to be, I mean, that one's going to be really fun. I just think Yanni has just been in that level of it for too long now. I do think Yanni's going to win 2 of them. I think there'll probably be I think one of them might be a pretty close match, but I think he's probably going to get it done in 2. And like you said, his time's going to come. But if we see the same Yanni that we saw at the U.S. Open a few weeks back, then I think Yanni's going to come out with it.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next we got 74.
Yeah, and in an interesting way, these ones, we probably won't dive into as, talk about every result. I think really 65 and 70, especially because of how close a lot of these guys were prior to the tournament, and then what we kind of saw at the end. We kind of had a good idea of who was going to win this weight. We thought David Carr coming in, and he did. He probably didn't look as bulletproof throughout the whole tournament that I think we probably thought he was going to. But, he sets up a best 2 out of 3 with Messenbrink, and I think that's going to be... I don't think Messenbrink's going to tech him twice. That's what I'll say. Just like he did at the U.S. Open. I don't think he's going to tech him twice. Is he going to beat him 2 straight? I think so, but I don't necessarily think he's going to tech him twice. So we'll see what happens. I think Carr could squeeze one out. I think Carr could win, but I didn't leave this weekend going, oh yeah, David Carr's he's back ready to go. He's taking out Messenbrink.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he seemed a little bit more hesitant in his offense, wasn't really letting loose and going, and I think that's what he's going to have to be to beat Messenbrink. So I think Messenbrink's probably going to have that 74 spot this year, and there might be a couple close ones, like you said, but I don't.
Yeah.
I see David Carr, at least how he's wrestling right now. But the thing is, remember, a month ago when he beat the silver medalist, was he a silver medalist?
Yeah. Takatani.
Takatani. We were like, David Carr.
He could be the rep. He could win gold.
Yeah.
It's just it's so funny how it flips, man. You watch a result at the senior level, and you just. Wrestling is very close, but you just, a lot of times you don't see those really high level foreign guys getting beat by guys in America that just haven't necessarily done it yet. And so it almost just oh, well, we lost our 74 rep. Here's David Carr. He's going to be the next guy. And I mean, I know how great Mitchell Messenbrink is, but I think everybody just maybe got a little ahead of themselves.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mitchell's going to pull that one out.
Yeah,
for sure.
A couple college notes real quick before we move on to the next weight. Michael Caliendo goes 0-2 at this weight, which was interesting. I didn't really watch a lot of his matches, but just kind of an uninspiring result from him going 0-2, losing to Bear Claw and Ed Scott, and then Joey Blaze, the complete opposite, comes through, takes third, beats Elroy Perkin, beats Peyton Hall, beats Terrell Bearclaw, and then avenges a loss against Quincy Monday for third. So that guy's impressive. He had a really, really impressive college season, and now he looked really impressive on the freestyle scene this year. So curious to see what we get from him. Maybe he goes up a weight at some point. I think he's a pretty big 57, so I think we could see him at possibly 65 next year. But I don't know. Do you want to wrestle Messenbrink? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. 2 Blaze brothers coming back and wrestle him and getting bronze there. That was good for them to kind of.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty damn cool.
Well, good. Getting into 79, smaller weight here. I mean, the biggest ones,
and it'll be like this the rest of the way. These are a lot smaller besides those first.
Who we thought would be that Levi Haynes and Dean Hamady NCAA tournament semifinal rematch. Simon Ruiz, though, came out pretty strong against Kennedy Monday, and he tough, looked pretty good.
He is tough.
Because he was a freshman at Cornell this past year, right?
Yeah, man, he's good.
So and he had a good match with Hamady. I think Hamady had a little bit of trouble getting his offense going, and after that first period with Haynes, it was 4-2,
It
maybe.
was
It was pretty
2-2. It
close.
was 2-2, and Hamity was winning on criteria, so it was 2-2 Hamity at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and then he gets in and Haynes gets on top and kind of let loose and he looked good. Haynes looked good. I haven't seen him wrestle too much freestyle and I think that's going to be a pretty interesting match with him and Evan Wick there at Final X.
I think so too. I'm just going to pick Levi Haynes. It's nothing against Evan Wick. I think he could very well win this weight. Levi looks like a hoss. He looked like he did when he beat Keegan O'Toole at World Team Trials, or no, was it the Olympic Trials last year? I can't remember. Anyways,
Yeah.
maybe it was was it the 79 kilo non-Olympic trials? I think it might have been that. I can't exactly remember. Anyways, Levi beat Keegan last year in freestyle, and he looked like that same guy this weekend to me. Just looked solid at that weight, and yeah, I think Levi's gonna win. If Evan Wick wins, props to him, and I think he's gonna be ready to compete at the weight, whichever guy comes out of this, Evan Wick or Levi. I don't know what our medal chances are, but I mean, it doesn't feel like having a Kyle Dake at the weight, or a Jordan Burroughs at the weight, but it definitely, some new blood is pretty cool to see. So I'm excited to see what this Final X matchup is like.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. And Wick is pretty savvy, but I feel like too Levi Haynes is going to pull it out, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how he does at the World Tournament if he comes out of there. Just if he can keep some matches close and score his points and wrestle the rest of this weekend, then hopefully he'll be a good representation of that weight. So,
yep.
The next weight was
we got some more Nittany Lion Wrestling Club guys.
Yeah, man, this was a bit crazy. I mean, first the Kyle Dake, Parker Keckeisen. I mean, that was a fun semi when he got blasted through at the end. Only 1 point, but just split open.
But yeah, Kyle got split and then went Donkey Kong mode on Parker Keckeisen after that, just destroyed him.
Just chest wrap and a head pinch every time.
Yeah. And then Carter avenges a loss against Chance Marsteller and wins that match on a really nice reshot score that he had early in the match, and sets up this match with Starachi and Dake. And controversy a little bit. I know some people think Carter had a takedown at the end. Maybe he did. Depends on which rule book you're looking at, really. But I think this kind of showed me a couple things. Like, Carter is right there. He can wrestle with anybody at the weight, I think. I think if he puts his sole purpose into freestyle, I think he can wrestle with any of these guys. And so we're going to see what that looks like. I kind of again, just for the sake of our team being better, I think one of these guys, Dake or Starachi, could be a 79 kilo guy. I don't know. Starachi looked freaking big, man. Maybe not. Mm-hmm. Maybe he's an 86 now, and that's just the way it is. But this 86 team spot for the next 3 or 4 years is going to be so exciting, dude, because there's so much talent here at the top. Dake, Starachi, Zahid. I mean, there's so much talent right now at this weight. So, and then we've already got a guy as good as Parker Keckeisen. He's there, and he can't even crack that. I mean, he's a really, really good wrestler, and he can't even crack that group. So, yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens at Final X. I'm gonna pick Kyle Dake. I think that 2 out of 3 doesn't serve Zahid as well as 2 out of 3 for Dake. I just think positionally, Zahid has a better chance of maybe striking lightning in a bottle and capturing a win over Dake better than doing it twice. And that's just my opinion. Every time he's wrestled David in a 2 out of 3, he's looked good in the first match, and then he's gotten destroyed in the second match. And, I think there's something to that. You get a little tired. You maybe lose a little bit of that juice. So we'll see what happens. But I would not be surprised if Zahid wins the first one and then Dake wins 2 after that. But I'll take Kyle in 2.
Yeah, and I know some of the big controversy you just saw everybody posting about, and I almost went up to Louisville this weekend to watch, but had some priorities. But the mats being so slick, saw some of that in some of the footage and the clips and watching those guys live, just trying to get some offense going, because I do think Starachi is really good at this weight, and I think he could be incredible if he let some of his like offense go. Because I mean, you saw like he got
It's
into his
good,
shot at the
man.
very end. Like he's so good offense, and even a lot of times through the past like college season, he won national tournament. So I can't really say this,
Yeah.
but I feel like he's got such good offense and can get to legs, but he doesn't let it go as much as he could. And I think
Well,
if he
it's
was
just that
let loose and
he keeps such good positioning
yeah,
that it's like, he's good at both. He's so good at both of those things. His offense is good, but his positioning and his hand fighting is also so good. So he can control the match from there, and I think that's probably why you see him lean on that hand fight a lot more, just wearing guys down with his hand fights.
yeah,
I'm excited to see it. Watch him over. I wish he was somehow involved in this. I wish it was like a triple threat match. You know, but
little round
maybe
robin.
maybe a
Yeah.
round robin tournament. That'd be fun.
Well, and I was gonna say that's a little bit too how Aaron Brooks is. Like, just seems so hard to score on. Just wins that hand fight, and I think you're right when it comes to the final legs. I'm glad I still kind of feel like rooting for Kyle Dake because I don't know how many more years we got Kyle Dake left, but I think getting to that final X, I think he could maybe sneak one out, by a quick like small margin, like a push out or something. But I think Kyle Dake's gonna win at least. Maybe they might get to 3 matches, but I think Kyle Dake's gonna win it. Yeah. Well, getting into 92, 92
Yeah,
kilos.
another tiny bracket, 5 guys, and we'll kind of go through it pretty quickly. But just Josh Barr and Aiden Sinclair, 2 young guys in the finals here, and Josh Barr has historically taken some losses to Aiden Sinclair. Comes out and I think he lost the junior world team to Sinclair last year, and comes out and or maybe I can't remember. I know he had at least lost one match. Maybe he came back and actually made the team. I can't exactly remember. Anyways, Josh Barr comes out, wins it 7-3, looks good all weekend, beats Plott, beats Sinclair. I think he's going to set up a really interesting match with Hayden Hidley. I think Trent's the favorite, but you got to like where Barr's at right now, just in general. We'll see what happens there. He's trending up. He's constantly getting better, trending up. And we'll see if he can give Trent a run for his money. At the moment, I'll take Trent.
Yeah, I feel the same. Just because I think Trent, watching him in the past couple like competitions, he looks pretty good at that weight. And not that Josh Barr might be able to get one match out of there, but I think Trent will probably control both of those, and I think he'll win 2 in a row.
Yeah. We can go through these. I mean, again, Hayden Zillmer, takes out Eric Schultz, and then Jay Aiello looked really good against Justin Rademacher, and then sets up a close match with Zillmer and Aiello. But man, Zillmer looked great for this weight. It feels like he should have been here all along, but you just had the Kyle Snyder, him being here. Nobody wanted to have to run through that, and so he had kind of, he's kind of controlled this weight over the last 10 years. You think back how long he's controlled this weight. So it'll be interesting to see some new blood. I think Zillmer will be our rep, and I'm curious to see what he does at a world tournament at a weight, like 97 kilos, where he's actually, filled into the weight, and not just a small heavyweight.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So I'll take Zillmer over Snyder by forfeit.
Forfeit.
Yeah.
Default. Yeah.
By default.
Stuff. Well, the big boys.
Yeah.
Big boys.
Yeah. Trent Hilger wins it, and he takes out Demetrius Thomas, and Trent Hilger gave Wyatt Hendrickson a really close match at the U.S. Open. Now I think Wyatt will make some adjustments, and I think Wyatt will take 2 at Final X pretty handily. But it's just one of those things you got to look at where Hilger been training at Minnesota, comes in. Has he been wrestling with Gable some? What effect has that had on his game? He makes a Final X, and he'll have a shot to make a world team. But I think Wyatt's just got a little bit too much juice right now. He looked great at Pan Am's, absolutely bodied some poor soul out at Pan Am's, and so that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool to watch. It was a little painful to watch if you get a little queasy about stuff like that. But yeah, I'm excited for Wyatt, excited to see what he can do at the Worlds if he ends up taking 2 from Hilger.
Yeah, I think so too. I just think he is doing what he needs to do to win that world team spot. He might give up a takedown or something here and there, but I think overall, I think he's going to win both of those matches.
I think parterre is where he's got to get better at, right? Like parterre bottom. If he does give up points, how is he reacting from getting gutted? We haven't seen him do a whole lot of freestyle, so making sure that he's and I mean, I'm sure he is. I know he's getting better, but just having the guys in the room, wrestling with David, wrestling with some of those bigger guys in the room to get better at, his freestyle, his parterre defense is going to be, I think, the key for him. And, really managing matches, getting rid of some of the sloppiness that comes with Wyatt. I know that's what makes him great, but in freestyle, sometimes it can also lend to giving up some silly points. I know this is what we loved about Mason Paris. I mean, he would throw caution to the wind a lot of times and he would go after it. But in a scenario when you're wrestling at the highest level, like he did at the Olympics, it can cost you tactically. And, I think we saw him make some tactical errors. And I wonder with our heavyweights, really, we had such a great star in Gable that he didn't even really need to be a tactician. He was just so much better than these guys. But you look at some of the guys like Geno and Taha Ghul and how good of tacticians they were as well as athletes. So I think we got to get a little bit of that. And we'll see where Wyatt's at, man. I mean, that weight has cleared out a few of those legends. Whoever Iran sends will be tough. And so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, and that's something I've seen people talk about a lot is just the parterre and internationally is just on a different level, I think, than where we're at right now. I think the U.S. is just so good on our feet that we can win a lot of matches. But if we get taken down, sometimes it can be tough. Because those, like, the guts that you see sometimes, like, I can't imagine. It's a different level. It's a different level.
Just, I mean, I don't sit here and discount the fact that, like, wrestling freestyle all the time is going to make you a better freestyler. Like, I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, you can't wrestle folk style. It's not going to make you better at freestyle. Like, wrestling is going to help you get better at wrestling, but wrestling freestyle helps you get better at freestyle. Like, it's not rocket science. What are we talking about? Like, wrestling folk style will help you get better at folk style. Can certain things in folk style help you in freestyle? Yes. But I think if our country only did freestyle, we'd be the best at freestyle. I think. Yeah. I think we'd be the best at freestyle. But we don't. And that's okay. We climb every year. We climb a little bit higher of we climb a little bit more of an uphill battle. But I think that's what makes it all the more exciting. For the most part, most sports in the world, the United States dominates. I mean, we do. We win the Olympics. We win the Summer Olympics all the time. Mm-hmm. We win the most medals all the time. We dominate. And so there's some sports where it's not our home country sport, and wrestling is not. Freestyle wrestling, Greco-Roman wrestling are not our home country. Like, we don't just wrestle those sports. We grow up wrestling a completely different sport and then transition guys to it. So I'm not trying to get off on a whole tangent on that, but think that the more we have guys wrestling freestyle post-college, I mean, it's great, but having that exposure early, we see guys like Lillidahl, we see guys doing it at a younger age. I think they're just going to be all the more ready when they have that age level success, when they get to that senior level, there's not this big learning curve that they have to go through. So
yeah.
That's my spiel.
Can you imagine wrestling just freestyle your whole life? That would just seems crazy.
It just get boring, man, right? I mean,
yeah. But you do think about that. I mean, I know. I think I don't know about every state, but I know a lot of states the same thing. Of like in Tennessee's a big one. Going to freestyle and Greco tournaments now compared to like what they were when I was in high school. Like every tournament I go to was a round robin tournament. Yeah. Like and so. That's been cool to see, and I think that's going to slowly build towards
grassroots effort. That's how we do this.
That's what we do. Well, hey, back to the little guys. We still got the two that we didn't go over yet. Yeah. So speaking of Luke Lillidahl versus Spencer Lee at 57, best out of 3. Who you got?
I'll take Spencer, but I think it's going to be closer than people think. I really do. I'm not necessarily saying Lillidahl gets a match, but I think Spencer will be more horsepower for Lillidahl, more than he can handle at the moment. But if in a year or 2 years you tell me that Lilidol's our rep, or at the Olympics Lilidol's our rep, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think Spencer's going to win too. He might give up a takedown, but I just think he's on that level, that Olympic level, like silver
Yeah,
medalist. I feel like he's going to kind of get it done. So
I think so too. I think so too.
61.
I mean, he had a really close match with Ono. I mean, he's right there. Don't get it twisted. Spencer Lee's one of the best in the world. Like, don't sit. I'm not saying Lilidol's going to be our rep. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if he was in a few years. And then probably my most anticipated matchup, 61 kilos. So saving the best for last. I'm gonna do the Max Kellerman. What they asked Max Kellerman years ago before the Warriors match, they said, if you could have one guy taking a 3-pointer, you want the final shot. Who are you taking, Steph Curry or Andre Iguodala? And do you remember this? Do you have any memory of this?
Not really, but it sounds familiar.
And Max Kellerman gives one of the most audacious takes of all times of all time. One of the worst takes. He goes, one shot, game on the line. The Martians got the death beam pointed at Earth, and if we don't make it, we're all gonna die. I want Iguodala, and he's,
I do remember that. I remember that now. How you said it like that.
I want Iguodala, which, I mean, obviously wrong. You want Steph Curry. You want Steph Curry. But I'm going to do that one. I want Jax Forrest. Give him to me. I'm taking Jax Forrest over the world champ, over the multi-time NCAA champion. Give me the high schooler. He's winning.
So this is probably the one that I did think about the most, because I do think these will be some interesting matches. We've seen Vito that sometimes struggle with some guys, but I think the guys that he's struggled with, like the Crookham, they've been a lot more physical guys and a little bit more like big-bodied guys. And I don't think he's going to struggle as much with a Jax Forrest body type, if that makes sense. I think Vito is funky enough.
Crookham's a funk master, though, dude. Crookham's all funk.
Yeah,
he is built like a block, though. He's built like a block. I'll give you that.
That's why I think he's just a little bit harder scoring. Now, I think Jax Forrest is just crazy good too, and looks really good right now. But I'm gonna pick Vito. I'm gonna do it. I'm picking against Jax.
We're going toe to toe. I mean, Jax had the mini burst fade bowl cut haircut that he had. I don't even know what that haircut is that he was rocking at Pan Am's. But I mean, he looked like souped up Lloyd Christmas out there, dude. I was like, this guy is coming for heads, and he takes out Joey Silva, just breaks Joey Silva, breaks him. And dude, I don't know, man crush, Jax Forrest, sure, call it what you want. Yeah. I'm taking Iguodala. I'm taking Jax Forrest. He's winning at Final X. It might go to 3 matches. Who knows?
I think. Yeah, I don't know. That's another one. Like, if they wrestle 3, I feel like it could go a different way than if they wrestle 3 again the next weekend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, so those are the only 2 that we went different. What, Vito and Jax, and then what was it, Joey and Real Woods? I think those are the only ones that we went.
Yeah,
that's fine.
And even that,
that's fine.
Like, confidence meter on both of those is very low, like super, super low confidence meter wise. But you know what's crazy about all these is I don't feel good about many of them.
Yeah.
I feel good about Hayden Zilmer at the moment. Only for like a couple of weird reasons why. Yeah. But that could, if Snyder says that he's wrestling, then he's probably my number 1 confidence pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to Spencer Lee being my number 2 confidence pick, and then maybe Wyatt being my number 3. Well, Wyatt's 2 or 3. And then from there on, I'm kind of like struggling to find who my number 4 confidence pick is at that point. Like, Wick Haynes? I don't know. Dake Zahid? No. Like, I mean, Bar Hidley? Woods? McKenna? Messenbrink, yeah, it would be. That's what it would be. You're right. It would be Messenbrink. But still, man, it just gets pretty nip and tuck after that, after those few. So it's going to be an exciting Final X just because a lot of these I'm not going into it like, oh, well, I kind of know the outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's a great thing. I mean, I think that in the NCAAs and now like on the world level, I think we've kind of had it where we've had guys, I think we've talked about this before, that have like solidified their spot and have been that guy at that weight. And right now, I think it's a good thing. It's like it could go either way a little bit, and so
Yeah.
that's it's going to be exciting. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped. It's in a few weeks. I'm sure we'll get another show in before then, and we'll come back and I don't know what's next for us. We haven't really talked about it, but we'll ready the troops, and we'll
Yeah,
come back with some
we're
good
gonna go.
content.
Maybe we'll start bringing guests in. What's you got?
I think we
Dan
got to get
Taylor?
the double digit
No, I'm
episodes. What is this, 9? Is this 9, 8, or 9?
yeah.
9.
No, it's
So
nine.
once we
This is
get to
nine.
double digits, then we can maybe we can bring in. I'll get the local the kid down the street at the local club to come be our guest, man. I'm sure that'll help the audience.
Hey, no, I think we're the podcast for the wrestlers. So hey, you guys, come. You want to be on the podcast?
Yeah, for sure.
We don't have much. We don't have much for you. Besides just some good vibes, pretty much.
Good vibes. We'll talk to you. Maybe you can get us a couple more followers on Instagram. We'll share it.
You can repost. That'd be sweet. Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to submit, feel free. And submissions to be a guest interviewer or interviewee are open now.
Yeah.
Final X, June 14th in New Jersey, I think, right?
Yeah.
So coming up, gonna be really exciting to see which guys are gonna come out on top. We've got some close ones, some young versus some old, and then just some really fun ones that we're gonna be watching for
No
sure.
doubt.
So, well, cool. You got anything else?
That's it, brother. Go Pokes. Go Army. Hope they hire the right guy. It'll be it's May. It'll be June. It'll be NCAA season before we know it.
Right about that. All right. Well, appreciate you guys listening. Like and subscribe. YouTube, Spotify. Let's boost those numbers.
Let's get them bumped.
All right. See ya.
See ya.